any kind of decisions that would affect your life potentially in the long run permanently or adversely based on what you see other people do. Because I feel like, that's peer pressure comes from, the outside and pressuring you to kind of navigate away from what your internal codes are and what you yourself believe in.
When you say pressure, nobody's pushing you. Nobody's pushing you, but you're in the wrong crowd. Maybe not in the wrong crowd, but you're just like Lola said, you'll be somewhere and somebody say, I can't make my child marry someone from a broken home. You're just somewhere and people are talking about experience and you're just looking, you're not even like, you're wondering, am I in this life? Am I in this world? Then you go back and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this. There are certain things I did because I felt I wanted to belong, and also when the conversations are going on, I want to be able to contribute that, oh yes, I know my boyfriend said that also. Those kind of things.
What were our relationship journeys like, and what are the lessons that we'll glean from that for anybody watching, who might be in that space now where they're asking all sorts of questions?
So I would say in your 20s, just there are certain things, red flags. Don't ignore your red flags. Don't accept domestic abuse, domestic violence, emotional abuse. I was emotionally abused. You shouldn't settle for that, please. If for anything, don't settle for emotional abuse or domestic violence. You're worth more than you think. And eventually, the one meant for you would find you. Like the person meant for me eventually found me. And I didn't have to do anything. Right? I didn't have to prove anything. In fact, sometimes like, really, am I dreaming? Like, there's somebody like this person out there for me, for you.
When emotions step into this whole thing about going out, it's always hard to hear God well. Let's start from there. You see the guy. It's not a tree you want to go out with. It's a fine guy that meets all your specs. Then you're now saying you are hearing God. Let's calm down first. Let's look at this thing objectively. Sometimes it will be hard for you to hear God well. It's true. Because as you're trying to hear God, your heart is pounding that, he's about to call me, So let's be to thyself, be true. Sometimes you can't trust what you're telling yourself, that this is God talking to me. There are people that can pray through it with you. Talk to people that you trust.
We're not going to touch on this, but maybe we should just quickly touch on peer pressure. Peer pressure is huge. Even now, peer pressure saves day. How much more in your 20s? I remember talking to Jaga on the phone about this, and she said, there was peer pressure in her 20s. So in fact, she wants to talk. So Jaga, let's just start it from you. Peer pressure can even be in what we might think are quote unquote good things. When you hear peer pressure, it's like, see, they told me to go and smoke. They told me to. Sometimes just that you're doing follow is peer pressure. So Jaga, please share your views on peer pressure. Any other person that wants to talk about that?
So peer pressure, let's say I didn't really feel much of that when I was home, because just like Joke said when she started, she came from I also come from a very shielded background. I came from a family where to go down to my friend's house or to anybody's house, my dad will have to drop us. And that is, we didn't even, I grew up in the north. I never entered public transport, not because we always had cars around, but because my dad always wanted to be there. So if you want to go down the road, he wants to drop you with his car. You're not going to enter any pub. So, I didn't understand what peer pressure was until I finished university. So that was my 20s, right? And I had to go to serve, and I had to stay with people. So you're in the midst of people, and this one is saying, in fact, my boyfriend has built this house. In fact, when I was in my boyfriend's house cooking, in fact, just things that you never really heard about, because like I said, when I was in school, I was never in any serious, I wasn't even in a relationship until my final year. So I didn't even, then if guys ask me out, I'll be like, excuse, the way I will even, as if I want to do Kung Fu, how can you ask me out? Not because I felt I was all that, but I'm like, Can't you see I'm a serious person? I'm a Jesus baby, you know, that kind of, that was my mindset. Like, I was just all about fellowship, classes. Most times I was even in fellowship that my sisters and my sister and my cousin, we call her my cousin, and more like sisters. We used to stay in the same room and hostel. They, when my results come out, they'll be like, how do you do this? Because we know you're always in fellowship. So how are you passing? Me self, I didn't know. But anyway, so going to serve, you know, I was pressured into thinking I had to be in a relationship. I was pressured into thinking that being a virgin at my age was a taboo. You know, I was pressured into thinking that I had to experience lots of things to be able to say that I am a lady or I'm a woman. You know, when you say pressure, nobody's pushing you. Nobody's pushing you, but you're in the wrong crowd. Maybe not in the wrong crowd, but you're just like Lola said, you'll be somewhere and somebody say, I can't make my child marry someone from a broken home. You're just somewhere and people are talking about experience and you're just looking, you're not even like, you're wondering, am I in this life? Am I in this world? Then you go back and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this. You know, there are certain things I did because I felt I wanted to belong, and also when the conversations are going on, I want to be able to contribute that, oh yes, I know my boyfriend said that also, you know, those kind of things. So that's one thing I would say I am trying hard, not trying so hard, but for my daughter, I am not holding her back in understanding a lot of things. I'm not overprotecting her. Now I would say to young girls now, if you have, and even to us as mothers, if you have a girl child, I think it's very important to let them know what to expect at certain ages in their life, or at certain phases in their life, so that when their friends are talking about it, they don't feel like it's a strange thing and they don't feel left out. Like if I had these conversations with my family members or my friends, I don't think I would take it hook, line, and sinker what my friends are saying. I want to act out like they you know what they were saying. I'm trying to even bring out an instance, you know, maybe if I remember while we're conversing, I'll be able to tell the story. But I am purposely saying to my daughter, look, you're going to have this kind of conversation. Somebody said to me that her daughter is in GSS3 and they're in a boarding school, and these are the things they talk about. They actually share contraceptives and in GS3. I never even knew what contraceptive was in GS3. And that is because now her daughter stood her ground because her mom has given her this conversation. So to her it was like, well, you girls, that's your choice. I know what I want. Do you understand? So peer pressure for me came at my, like from 2022, 23. That's when I was pressured into getting into the wrong relationship. That was when I started clubbing, you know, because I felt I wanted to feel like I just wanted to be a babe, in quotes. I don't know how to say it. There's so much, but you know, I just think that God's grace was available for me because of the years I have sown in service. You know, at that point in time, a revelation came to me. You know, there was a time I sat down and I was, because I was really not even going to church anymore. I mean, my parents are pastors. I've gone to church all my life. In fact, church tired me at the point, you know. So, but I got this revelation where, at the point where I was serving, I served in Warri and I served in a military barracks. And you know, when that in that age was where the awareness came that I'm a fine girl. Do you get? So you have majors, generals asking you out, and you're like, okay, yeah. You know, and that's because of, you know, I don't know my story is so funny, but anyway, this revelation came and like I was asking God, I said, God, how did you keep me through this? And he showed me like a drum, a black drum that was filled to the brim, and that each time, you know, it was like someone was taking water out of it. And then at a point, it was like halfway. And he said to me that, you know, more like for me, what he explained to me is that you have grace sufficient for you. And that when it looks like you don't deserve it, even if you are in the midst of filth at this point in time, my grace is still sufficient for you, because I have not forgotten your years. I was sold out to Christ when I was in school, and I'm still sold out. I was still sold out to Christ, but I think for some reason God wanted me, because now I work with a lot of young girls, so I have the things to say to them. I know, so I was able to experience, not by will per se, not by choice, but I was able to experience certain parts of life that I would never have experienced if I was still under my parents' roof, or if I still had their you know cover over me, like the way my dad had. But so for me, God was just telling me that my grace is sufficient for you, and everything you're going through right now is part of my plan for you. So that was when I had a reset in my mind. I'm like, okay, Ngozi, enough is enough. It's time now to go back and ask God, what do you want me to do? And that was actually when I discovered makeup artistry. I signed on, I went to school in House of Tara. So I was going from Warri, going to school. So I had a purpose at this time. So I wasn't necessarily around people just clubbing and all of that. I had a purpose, and that was where I moved on from there. And I haven't looked back since then. So that was how. It's a lot of story, but let's just say it's like that.
Actually, we're gonna sit down with you one day and just unpack. If I can tell that there are layers to the layers of the layers. So we need to unpack this story, because it will be someone's deliverance. Like, as you were saying, I was like, Jaga has not been telling us this thing. We need to know these things.
Funny enough, I've never said this anywhere before, honestly. Wow. So I'm just going, but so that's why when you called yesterday and you were like, story time.
We are going to package your own a special story time. But thank you for sharing that. And I think you just landed where it is, that really finding your purpose can be huge, and that in itself is another. But when you have a sense of identity, even if it's 0.5%, it helps to a certain level kill peer pressure. Because at least you know yourself, you know what you will do, you know what you won't do, you have an idea of your values, your principles. So even if you say yes, you still know yourself, but you know you're saying yes. It's a different thing when you're just going bandwagon effect and you're not even thinking about it. So I think that's really, really what helps us. Does anybody want to talk about peer pressure?
I just wanted to add that peer pressure doesn't end in your 20s. You will experience it every step of the way. When it comes to even when you marry or where you want to live, you'll have some form of peer pressure. People will say, why do you want to live here? Why do you want to do this? Meanwhile, maybe they can't afford it, or maybe it's all on credit. Or not like credit is a bad thing. What I mean is maybe it's falsehoods that they're using to project the lifestyle they have, that you will always experience it. So it's key, if you're able to now begin to develop a strong sense of self early, so that as you get into these stages, it's almost like, you've seen it, done that. It's just in another form and you're not moved by it. So it doesn't end in your 20s. That's what I wanted to say.
Can I just quickly add to that, saying don't make any kind of decisions that would affect your life potentially in the long run permanently or adversely based on what you see other people do. Because I feel like, that's peer pressure comes from, the outside and pressuring you to kind of navigate away from what your internal codes are and what you yourself believe in. So, and like Joke said, peer pressure doesn't end because you've crossed the 30 age or 40-year age. It comes in different forms, different ways. But if you see people doing things, don't try as best as possible to check what your beliefs are, what your belief system is, and what your goals in life are, and if these things or this decision making, these things you want to do align with that. Because something as simple as, I'll give an example, young people here, I'm finding a lot of them are getting into, credit card debt based on pressure of things they're seeing. People are buying the, Gucci's and the Pradas, and they're now having to go into money you haven't even earned yet as a young person, or maybe it's not credit card, you're borrowing money, you're borrowing money to do certain things. What you're doing is you're going against yourself. You're working against your own self just because of certain things. So try as much as possible when you're making your decisions to actually check, this decision I'm making, how does it fit into what I actually want for my life? Is it something I'm doing just because somebody else is doing it? And is it going to have a permanent effect on my life, or something that I would have to actually work to get over the effect of it, rather than it adding or benefiting to me? So yeah.
And just this thing about if you're doing it so much because, or if I don't do these things, these people that I like as my friends may not want to hang with me, then you need to evaluate if those friendships really matter. Because if, let's say, we're all friends now, and if, let's say, I'm trying to look, maybe Yvonne, Stella, and whoever are saying, oh, if I don't dress a certain way, or if I don't hang out with some guys, or if I don't do certain things with them, then they may have a problem accepting me the way I am, or making me feel comfortable. Then you should be strong enough to know those who really love you, first of all, will accept you the way you are. They won't want to force you to become someone you're not comfortable with, and would love you regardless. Even if it's something that's a flaw, they will love you and lovingly help you change, not put pressure on you to come and be somebody else that you're not. So I wanted to just link that point around peer pressure and relationships. If they give you ultimatums, like, if you don't do this, you can't be with us, then being alone for that moment is not a bad thing.
The three of you have just capped it. And this thing Joke said, because truly sometimes it's easier said than done. That might be the only friend the person has, or the only friends, or at least the only friends the person has come to know. So sometimes it comes at what we might call an opportunity cost. You have to let go of something to do something. And I have been there. There's a video somewhere on my channel. You guys can watch where I talked about that. But it is what it is. If you need to cut those, cut them. And that's it for people that are better, that'll pay your destiny, will come along. And that will just take us right now straight into relationships. And relationships with your own gender, girlfriends, and relationships with the opposite sex, so that we can just begin to wrap up the conversation. What were our relationship journeys like, and what are the lessons that we'll glean from that for anybody watching, who might be in that space now where they're asking all sorts of questions?
I'll let you go first. I think because just recently my group, my departmental group, we were asked to talk about our journey in uni. And I think for me, it was one of the best time of my life. And in terms of relationship now, I think my 20s was it was the time when I formed my lifelong friends, like the people that I call sisters now. It was in the uni, and I think because growing up, my parents, well, like I said, I kept moving. So I would start primary one year somewhere, primary 2 was another state, primary 3, and same was secondary school, right? I didn't stay in the place for longer than 2 terms, so I didn't really make any friends growing up. But in uni, I made we had that clique, the 5 girls, the Y family. They called us the Y family then, and we're still the Y family. Like how many years down the line? And then I had some male sets of friends as well. These were boys it was mass communication, right? So there was the print guys. Most guys then were into print, and then because remember I said I wanted to dive into school, right? So I didn't think print had to be a boys. In fact, I was offended by it because they felt like print, media, journalism, investigation had to be a guy's thing. So I was in their midst, like, whatever you want to do, like, let's go to this place, let's go to that, let's do this investigative journalism in school. So I also had a friend, I also had that clique as well, the boys clique as well. So I had the best of both worlds. I had my girlfriends and I had my boyfriends. Then coming to romantic relationship, it was also in uni as well that I had my that I had like my first romantic relate, like that I would call, more than friends, the popular, the serious one. And I think growing up as well, I think because growing up from broken home and all that, I was like, I want to get this right. So I prayed, it was my lifelong prayer like that. It was the first person that I wanted to marry the first person I dated, right? Like I didn't just want to settle for anybody. And I remember I didn't start dating until year 3. So because I had prayed, I was like, I want to marry the first person. The first person that I actually date is the person I want to marry. But oh boy, I set myself up for another disappointment. It was a disaster, bloody disaster. That it was so bad that even I was offended with, with God. I was like, I'm not talking to you for like 3 months. Like you mean, why? Because this is, and I just want to talk about wrong relationships, especially when it comes to like dating. Because in our 20s, sometimes the first person that comes along is not necessarily your Mr. Right. And because of that, that pledge, that prayer to God, there were so many red flags that I saw in the relationship. But I said, God has given me this word. This dropped in my spirit. God cannot be wrong. Everybody will see at the end of the day that she knew what she was doing. Like, do you understand? So I'm like, God, it is me and you that know what we talked about, though. So this relationship, let everybody just be talking. But at the end, they will know that I will tell them what God told me about him. But no, I heard wrong. I heard wrong. And I think I just needed somebody to fill that void. And I wanted that approval that I'm not broken, that, even though you're from a broken home, you can actually get, a fantastic guy who would even pay interest to you and would not even mind that you're from a broken home. So, I patched it up until it could not be patched anymore, right? And I lost about 6 years of my life doing that. So I would say in your 20s, just, there are certain things, red flags. Don't ignore your red flags. Don't accept domestic abuse, domestic violence, emotional abuse. I was emotionally abused. You shouldn't be dating somebody who is not proud of you, who cannot show you off, and saying, oh, because I'm a popular jingle, I don't want any, I want to surprise everybody when I unveil you. You shouldn't settle for that, please. If for anything, don't settle for emotional abuse or domestic violence. You're worth more than you think. And eventually, the one meant for you would find you. Like the person meant for me eventually found me. And I didn't have to do anything. Right? I didn't have to prove anything. In fact, sometimes like, really, am I dreaming? Like, there's somebody like this person out there for me, for you. So I think that's all I could. While I had very good relationship, friendship and all that, I had very nasty dating life. It was all over the place, and I didn't heal from this until in my late 30s. Like I couldn't even bring myself to heal from it. Because I was disappointed in God. I was disappointed in myself. I was disappointed in so many things. So I think that's just my story. And I just wanted to, any young girl, out there watching and all that, and you think this person that you are clinging on to is your air, is the air that you breathe, is your everything. No, the person is not your everything. Somebody better will come along. You just need to give yourself time, say no, heal properly, and the person meant for you would eventually find you. Go about doing your own thing and be your independent person that you're going to be, so that you can pick and choose and decide who the best person for you is. I think, yes, that's all I have to say concerning the relationship. Well, I need to just say this out. I've never said it out before, but yes, thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I felt it. So thank you for... Even I have never heard you say it like this before.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that was heavy. Thank you. And if you're a young person watching this and you're in that kind of relationship where you know that you're just accepting rubbish for the sake of accepting rubbish, she said 3 things: give yourself time, say no, and heal properly. Move on quick, come out fast. There's somebody else. And I like what you added to it. There was also the quote and unquote, the God part of you, where you believe the Lord said, and a part of you felt you wanted to help God prove the point that he said, please give yourself time, say no, heal properly. We all know what is wrong. And you said domestic abuse, but you also said emotional abuse, which sometimes is even so much more deeper because the damage is deep. And it took you years, like you said, to come out of this. And you just don't realize the amount of damage that is going on inside you until you come out and you're almost gone. You're just a living zombie, literally. Then you start finding your life back. So please, we're begging you, like, in Jesus' name, come out, be healed. Amen. Who else wants to talk about this? Sorry, that was just deep on many levels.
Well, first, thank you for sharing that. I second what Toyin said. You could feel it. And, you know, for any young woman that's watching it, it shows you how you can't afford to make a wrong decision in terms of relationships, because those relationships will end. But what you need to deal with, you will carry on to deal with for years. And unfortunately, for some people, sometimes you carry all that baggage into the next relationship that comes your way. And but for God's mercy, or but for you maybe meeting somebody that is genuinely committed to you, you may even lose a good relationship because you haven't dealt with things from your past relationship. So I just wanted to buttress what she said about don't go in first of all because so this is to Jaga's zone. Don't go in because everybody has boyfriend, let me to enter. But most importantly, don't stay in because if I leave, you know, what will people say? Have I failed God? That means, did I not hear God well? Am I not playing my part well? And I share that with her as well, because you realize if you can't put a square peg in a round hole, sometimes it may not even be that the person is a bad person. It may just be that two of you are not meant to be. And you are there fighting, struggling, saying, you know, this is God, he's a Christian, I'm a Christian. And I've been there as well, where separately, absolutely amazing person. But personality-wise, what we both wanted were like, he's Switzerland, the other person is Congo. But you are still trying to say, it must work. And in fact, I remember the way when this particular relationship, when it ended, when someone asked, oh, how are you doing? I now, you know, for the first time I said, you know, I think I was more committed to keeping up the idea that this thing could work as opposed to being committed to this person. So you are just, you at some point you stop thinking about, are we on the same page? Are we bringing out the best in each other to just, this thing must shall work somehow, shall. Whether it's making you unhappy, whether you're miserable, it just has to work. But then you break up and then, of course, you go through all the emotions and then you step out of it and you're like, wow, that wasn't a good thing for me. So I encourage anyone, it's okay to not be in a relationship. It's okay to be alone for a while. It's okay. You don't have to stay in a relationship that is breaking you down mentally, is isolating you, or makes you feel less of yourself. You would have to deal with that damage for years, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So for me, when I look back, I would tell my younger self, it's okay to break up with someone. It's okay. And it doesn't mean that person is a bad person. It just means two of you were not the perfect fit. And it's okay to step out early. Step out if it's not working for you. That's with this whole relationship thing with guys. And then sometimes, especially if you're a Christian, when emotions step into this whole thing about going out, it's always hard to hear God well. Let's start from there. You see the guy, it's not a tree you want to go out with. It's a fine guy that meets all your specs. Then you're now saying you are hearing God. Let's wait. Let's calm down first. Let's look at this thing objectively. Sometimes it will be hard for you to hear God well. It's true. Because as you're trying to hear God, your heart is pounding that, oh, he's about to call me, you know. So let's be to thyself, be true. sometimes you can't trust what you're telling yourself, that this is God talking to me. Get people that can pray through it with you. Talk to people that you trust. It may be going back to this thing, or maybe a mentor, a pastor, an older friend, or even your family, that, okay, this guy, I like him, he's in my space, I want to see how he goes. Then start from there. Don't put yourself under that pressure of, I heard God. You may be hearing your own heart that is telling you it's God. So don't box yourself, because a lot of young Christian girls make that mistake. But God said, meanwhile, God never said. And then the relationship breaks up, and then you be angry at God. And God is like, but I never said anything. So let's start from there about, let's be real. There's the emotion side of it. Okay, how can we move on to make sure we don't make a mistake? Seek counsel, wise counsel, wise counsel. It's all, when emotions get into it, it's very difficult. That's why you see, and just building on Lola's point, that's why you see even some married people, or maybe people going out, let me not say married, because that's another discussion entirely. You can't reconcile while you see some girls, the guy beats them. The guy does horrible things. Or even the other way around. You see the girl is very abusive to him. She can lock his shirt in public that you kill me today. But they will still stay in the relationship. And everybody is trying to advise them that, this thing is not working. So seek wise counsel, pray with people. Don't be in a relationship in isolation. Don't be in a relationship in isolation. Expose that relationship to wise counsel, wise environments that help you guys to grow together. I think that's what I wanted to say on the guy and girl relationship. Please, on the one with females, it is a good thing to have female friends. I think another lie women are told a lot is that, oh, women can be friends. Oh, women stab each other in the back. Oh, women snatch each other's boyfriends. Those things happen. But I can tell you that you can't do life alone without having women that have the same values as you, women that want to see you thrive, women that want to actually be there for you. Sometimes it takes a village to navigate through life. And there's a popular saying, I'm sure we all know that if you want to go fast in life, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you go with people. Women can be friends. Women can be friends. Women can help each other. Women can do great things together. Where we just need God's grace is direction to those women. Direction. Toyin and Lola became friends in year 1. We became friends years later. But these are relationships I won't trade for anything, because each person adds value to my life. And even collectively, there are times you're going through stuff and you just want to pray with people. It's good to have that company of people, because there are some weights that alone, it will take so much effort to push. But when you have a group of people that you're praying at it together, you can move that thing, whatever that thing is. So for any young woman listening, that whole thing about women can never be friends, women are always hurting each other. Not all women. As your prayer should be that God leads you to your own tribe, and that your own tribe finds you, and that together you guys help each other navigate life. But don't block out good people that are in your life just because you've heard this person stabbed that person's back. It's a lie. It's a lie.
Thank you so much, Lady J. So good. I remember someone I was talking to about this women can be friends thing, and she said the same thing. He said that women stab each other. She said men also stab each other at the back. How it became this women narrative, and they didn't say men cannot be friends. She doesn't just get it. Men also stab each other. They do bad things. Nobody said men cannot be friends. But that's just so powerful. And when you then said about relationship, that for you almost seemed it was more like we have to make this work, even more than being committed to the person. Sometimes that is such a trap that you don't even realize it's just about, this thing must work. It's not even about the person. It's just about this thing, that we said we are doing. It got to work. And it takes the grace of God for your eye to open, say, auntie, uncle, let it go. Okay, the Lord said, it's okay. Because even the Lord said, oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. I remember listening to a conversation, and there was this whole the Lord said thing. And even when the Lord says, it still takes two people in that relationship to make the will of God come to pass. For example, the Lord God called Saul, King Saul. It's still the Lord that called him. It's the Lord that said, go and anoint Saul. If it didn't work, it's not because Samuel got it wrong. It's because even in our lives as well, it's the same thing. God can say, this is what the will of Toyin, this is what Toyin's destiny will be. It takes still me walking and aligning with that will. So even in a relationship where you believe the Lord God said, if it doesn't work out, it didn't mean God unsaid or you heard wrongly. It just meant you didn't align with the will of God. And these things happen. You need to align. He needs to align. The two of you aligned will now bring out the will of God. And if you realize that it's like this thing, I don't know, go and hear the Lord again to know what to do. But don't get in that trap where you're not like, didn't I hear right? Or maybe my relationship with God, then you now make, I was going to say poor God, but it's not a poor God. You now make Baba God. Be the culprit. And God is like, this my children. Why is it me they blame when all these things are? Please, free God, oh, free God. Jaga, do you want to say something?
Yes, just to buttress what you're saying concerning the will of God, and I think that's very important as young girls. For instance, I know I started praying about marriage from age 16. Not saying I want to get married, but my major prayer was, God, I don't want to marry anyone that is not your will for me. In fact, I was so scared, maybe not scared, but I was so what's the word now? I was so certain that I was so particular about not wanting to marry the wrong person, that was my prayer always. Let your will be done. Let me marry your will. Let me marry your will. That was my prayer from age 16. And I think it's very important for young girls to start to pray that even if at any point in time you're not pressured to get married, I just strongly believe that when it's time for you to get married, God just brings the right person. Now, I think that prayer saved me from a lot of wrong relationships, and they saved me on time. For instance, I said that my first relationship was when I was in my final year. Now, I was in this relationship with this guy, and he was like the best thing that happened to me, because he was one of the big boys in school. He had a car. We had this social center in school. I don't know if other schools have it, but there's a point where everybody meets, where you have mini businesses. And at that point in school, that was when GSM came out. Now this guy had the biggest store there, so he was like, "This is my dream, I mean, what else do I want, But then, I think it's a few months into the relationship. One day I was lying down in my room in the hostel, and I don't think I had fallen asleep, but I think maybe, I don't want to say a trance, but I think I was still aware of my environment, but I had gone somewhere else. And I saw myself in a beautiful big house. I was dressed in some kind of luxury dress, like a lace, I had children playing around in the sitting room. I was sitting in one of these fancy chairs. And then outside the house, there were cars, everything, any kind of car you're looking for, you just see it. And the next thing, I was like this. I was just like that all through, like this, So I had everything, but I was in a state of like depression. And then I woke up and I was like, in that dream, I was married to this guy, of course. So, or rather that chance or whatever. And I just opened my eyes and I'm like, what's going on here? So I didn't know what it meant. But after that point, I just started feeling, I just told God, I said, God, your will. Because just like Lola, I thought the first person I was going to date would be my husband. And that was the only person I even told my mom about. I was like, Mommy, I'm dating. So I thought this was the person I was going to get married to. And then, so I was in this fellowship, Haven Campus Choir. Not a fellowship, it was just a choir. And we're invited to sing in a church. One of these churches close by, and different choirs were to sing. So at the point where we were singing, the pastor came up on the stage, and he said, "There's somebody here that you're presently in a relationship, and God, and you're in a relationship, and so he said something sharp, you're not meant to be there," or something like that. And guess what? This guy turns around, walks up to me, puts his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Did you hear what I just said?" Like, I was like, what is this guy? What is he talking about? Like, seriously, who went to give this guy my life history? Like, because at that point, I was really battling in my mind this was somebody I thought I loved. Everything seemed to be going well, was fine, tall, handsome. And this person is coming to tap me on my shoulder, just the exact thing I was hearing God say to me. So I think when we begin to pray in time, not about I want him to be tall, dark, and handsome, but God, may I not marry the wrong person. I want your will for me, which was the prayer I was literally praying. I never really wrote down a list. I want him to be tall, dark, and handsome. And it took me a while to break off from that relationship, because we'll say we are breaking. I actually told him this vision I had. I told him because I didn't know how else to do it. But then we'll say we are breaking up, we'll come back, break up, come back. But then he did something to me that really proved. It was just like, girl, if you marry this person, you are in a deep something that you may not be able to come out alive from. So that was it for me. And I think that's how God because he was just like, reserving me keeping me for his will, if I put it that way. So I think as young girls, start teaching the young girls to pray that particular prayer. Not may he be rich, may he be this, but may I not marry the wrong person. May it be the right person for me. So that's it.
Mo, do you want to share anything on that as we begin to wrap up what has been an amazing, amazing conversation?
Everyone has pretty much touched on everything, but I think what I would just probably add to that is based off of the fact that, I spend a lot of time counseling people, and especially in married people who sometimes, have difficulties or are facing challenges. I would say, before you decide who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, again, like everyone has said, prayerfully handle it, commit your ways to God. Ask him to direct your footsteps even in that area. Ask him for guidance, because he's the one who actually sees the future. He holds your days in his hands. And I would also say that, young people have this, I want to get married, and then that is like, that person is supposed to become the ultimate thing or the answer or the truth is that nobody, not your parents, not your spouse, not your children, because even getting like, I speak to a lot of mothers, where it's like the children have become the goals, like, I will die for my children. I mean, they are sacrificial, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that, God is the one who is able to fill all the holes and all the gaps and be your all in all. So when you're trying to make that decision, make sure you're not doing it from a place of escapism where you're trying to escape all of the things you should really be dealing with, or your decision making or whatever. I want to marry. It's a beautiful goal, and when done right, when done well, it's beautiful and it's God ordained. And at the same time, balancing that with your other relationships, because I also find that people tend to get married and it's like you throw everybody away. No, you will be surprised by your life seasons and your life's experiences. Your family, your friends, these relationships, I think God has blessed us with, and they all come with their benefits, their their benefits, their advantages. So as much as you're cultivating your romantic relationships, and I feel like we probably need a whole different segment to talk about relationships, but as much as you're doing that, continue to cultivate your friendships, your sisters or your male friends, your mentors, your family. Continue to cultivate all of those, because that makes you a well-rounded person. When you need to seek advice, you're not completely isolated, but you have to now, okay, where do I begin? So there's the balance of, as much as you're investing time in this, invest time in all your other relationships as well. There was something else I wanted to touch on, but I think it's kind of it's gone off now. So if I remember, I might come back. But yeah, that's
two things. Number one, I sense that this is going to be a continuous series. I'm just putting it, please tell me, do you want this to be a series so that we just, lock them and arrest them. They cannot say no again. So I remember what Mo was saying. This my husband is my world gang. Hashtag. Nobody can be your world. Is he meant to be everything to you? He will know about your career, your life, he cannot. It's one person that also has his own life. And that life also has a whole lot of things. So sometimes we even put too much pressure on this man to just be. Then when he's dropping boy, you're like, hey, he has changed. He has not changed. You're putting too much work in. How many things you want one person to be? It's like saying you'll be your doctor, your lawyer, your bank accountant, your mentor, your advisor, your coach, your washerman. One person cannot fill all those roles. Jackie had said we should talk about defining relationships because people are just leading people for years, and they don't know what they are doing. Nobody wants to say what they are doing. But because the girl says, but we have been, she has some friends for like 2 years. I've given him 2 years of my life. Something must come out of it. The guy does not even know himself. So this thing about, please don't let anybody lead anybody on. We've touched on, it's a waste of time. You really don't need time wasting. My darling young girls. And the painful thing is, the guy will now say, but we've just been friends. Meanwhile, because he sent you a Valentine gift, and then he opened the door for you, and then one day he just called, I'm hungry. He sent you pizza. The next day he sent you ice cream. So in your mind, we girls, your emotions are just doing gishish. He's in me. The guy is just being Mr. Nice. Next thing you hear, my Ivy. Ivy to what? He's marrying her.
I think we need to also talk to those guys because I tell some of them, I'm like, the way you think is different from the way a girl thinks. But don't be nice to her if you know you don't want anything to do with her. That's what I tell them.
Tell them. Because you these guys be saying you do not know. You are just being a brother. Don't be our brother. Carry your brotherhood. I'll be going with your brotherhood. Joke, you want to say something?
I think you and Ngozi said it, that it's so true that this thing happens, and I'm sure most of us have either encountered it or know someone that has been in that. We're just friends, we really like each other, we're just seeing how it goes. No. You owe it to yourself to know where things are going. If you find yourself in that situation, sometimes it may not even start out that that's the intention. You may start off as friends, and then you see that, okay, you feel a certain way for each other. Try to define it early. And why I say so is you don't want to be investing your time, your energy, your resources into a field or a relationship that isn't going in that direction you want. Because guess what happens sometimes? The person that is actually that you're meant to be developing that relationship with might be there waiting and may come around and think, it seems like Titi and Kola are actually going down now. And he may just go his way. Meanwhile, you guys don't even know where you're going to. You're just saying, let's see how things go. Then the other guy goes, then you're single. And then the other guy who maybe was the one, end up being with someone else. So define it early. Don't wait for him to define it, because sometimes too, it may be a case of he too is in that way, so I don't want to hurt her feelings, so let's just keep going. But the thing about most men by nature, when a man makes up his mind, he moves. Absolutely. There's nothing like, I'm going to string you along because we've been at it. I'm sure most of us know stories of they went out for 6 years, they broke up, 3 months down the line, he married somebody else. So don't wait. Take that decision. Like myself, I always say that sometimes it's better to be walking and crying. Be crying and be walking. Don't wait there. Shall be walking. Whereas you're walking and crying, your own person will see you on the road. But don't stay in that place and be crying. That's what I want to say about defining relationships. And to women too, because it's not just guys that do it to girls. Some girls do it. That guy is good. He's a good husband material. You will just be stringing him along as plan B. You're saying he's a good boy, he's a good plan B. Meanwhile, it's the bad boys of life that you're like, hey, this one, the way he makes my heart feel. When that one has dealt with you, you now leave him and come back to the plan B, please. On a more serious note, that person is a child of God too. And even you won't want someone to do that to you. So be true. Don't do what you wouldn't want someone doing to you. If you're stringing that good guy along, if you know you're not interested, if you know you're not ready to be with him, please let him go. Don't be the one stringing someone along, and don't stay as well if you are, because you will know when someone is stringing you along. Sometimes you will know, but you just keep hoping against hope that things will change. But at the same time, time is going. So be good to yourself. Define the relationship for yourself. Okay, he likes me, but he's not ready. Move on. Okay, I like him, but I'm not so sure. Let him go. And trust that at the appointed time, as Christians, if you're listening to this, your life is in God's hands. And trust that whole process as well. Because sometimes the reality is that you're not even sure how you feel. Let's even start from there. You like him, but you feel maybe there's some things you're not sure about, but okay, should I let him go? Should I lose him? Trust God with your life. Trust God with that process. If it means letting him go for that time, let him go. But don't be unfair to him, all in the name of, let me just have one in my pocket in case this one fails. That's not good.
Oh, Ngozi, Lola, Jokemo, this has been, oh my God, I have no words. Thank you, God. Finally, I was going to say, initially I said top 3, but at this point, time. But let me just say, your top 3, if you are going to tell your younger self 3 things, what would your top 3 be? I know it's more than 3, and if it's just 1, if it's just 2, it's fine. I was going to reduce it to 1, but what would your top 3 be? Let's start from Mo.
My top 3 would be, well, because when I say top 3 is like, some things that you never practice, but one I would say that I practice and I still keep up with is, write down your goals. Write down, because sometimes we think you have an idea, you have a vision, you see something, you hope, you plan, but write it down. And it's as simple as just putting pen to paper, but then coming back to it, because I find that some things that I am doing now, in the process of doing, are probably some things that I wrote down in my late teens, early 20s, that at that point in time, I had a vision for what they should be. But now that I'm older, I actually see it in a different light, but I'm wiser on it, and I can actually approach it better. But if I didn't write those things down, I wouldn't really have a reference point. I wouldn't have, an idea of, this is actually something I plan to do in my life, and I'm actually now achieving. So it's very important for you to write down your goals. Number 2 is break down those goals into, achievable points. Break those, big goals, try and break them down into smaller goals, and work daily, work weekly, monthly, as much as you can, by the grace of God, towards achieving those goals. And number 3, I would say, surround yourself with people that truly want the best for you, and you know them. Sometimes we push against those people because what they want to tell us, or the direction they want to give us, is, it feels like not what we want to hear at that point in time, or it might cost us. But just try and surround yourself with people who, I know, there's, no matter who you are in this world, no matter what background, we all come from different backgrounds, but I know that no matter who you are, from any walk of life you're in, there are people in your life. They might not, again, like I said, they might not be the ones on the Forbes list or on so, but there are people in your life that, God has placed in your life. It might not even be family, it might be somebody who maybe you're an orphan or something, but there are people who, they are around you. Just cultivate those relationships, and out of those relationships will come certain wisdom that you need, that will help you in your life. And number 3, self-care is very important. Through everything, through our goal, achieving, ticking off the list, I want to do this by this, by this, by this, by this. Remember, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Your self-care is very important. So as you move through all your phases in life, career woman, wifehood, motherhood, whatever, all the hoods, remember to take care of yourself. health, spirit, soul, body.
Excellent. Goals, relationships, self-care. Thank you. Lola, what would be your top 3?
Number 1 is be fearless. I think I keep saying this: be fearless, be courageous, just go for it. You have nothing to lose. Yes, you're only still 20. So just do that. I would say apply yourself to knowledge, learning and practicing what you learn. I think it got to a point in my life when I was still in uni that I said, I've been attending all these conferences. Then it was, those speakers corner, when the Fela Droto had just started, and we're going from one event to another, one event. And I came out like, which one have you applied yourself to with all these ones that you have been attending? So I said, you know what? I'm taking a break. Yes, listen, but apply yourself. If it is for every conference, pick one thing that you want to apply yourself to. Because I think we're in the age of information overload. It's on social media, it's on YouTube, and information is at our fingertips now. So I would say learn, pick the one that applies to you, apply it. Apply it to whatever it is you're doing. You never can tell how, what that would lead to. And then the third thing is get rid of limiting beliefs. Joke stressed this. Get rid of limiting beliefs. If there's something you truly, truly want, Mo has said it about writing your goals. Make it as big as you can. It's a blank check. Think of God giving you a blank check and asking you, my child, what do you want me to do for you? And just believe that, it's going to pan out. Because, when I wanted to go for my master's, I don't know, I'm not one of those people who would get a scholarship. I don't know why, but I just knew that I would not get scholarship. So I needed a plan B. So I would say, don't let where you're coming from, your family, your environment, any sociocultural factor around you, your environmental factor, determine how big you want your goals to be. So get rid of that and just go for that, write that thing that you want and keep at it, and God would, will orchestrate your path in such a way that the thing on your board, on your vision board, if you are someone who do vision board, will come to pass. I've seen that play out in my life over and over. Every year it keeps happening. So I would say those would be my 3 things. Be fearless, apply yourself, get rid of limiting beliefs.
So good. Amazing. Lady J.
I first, and Mo touched on it when she was rounding up, take better care of yourself. There's the deception of youth that you can do everything, be everything, manage everything. It's true, you have the energy to do it, but burnout is also a thing. So I encourage any young woman listening to this, take good care of yourself. Rest, sleep, surround yourself with positive things. All these things have a way of impacting your life in the future. Exercise, do things that make you healthy, that keep you healthy. It's not too early at that point. Take your vitamins, take your supplements, just take care of yourself. Be deliberate about how you're caring for this body, because it is this body that will carry you for the rest of your life. So why not start taking care of it early? So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing is sow wisely. And this isn't money, because most of the time people hear sowing, it's your time. Sow your time wisely. You're at an age where you really don't have so many things fighting for your time. Sow your time wisely. Volunteer, help people. I always say my first job, my second job, it was because I was volunteering my time to do something somewhere that I would have never thought was a big deal. But someone was observing and watching, and at the appointed time, the opportunity came. So sow your time, volunteer, spend time doing things for other people constructively. Sow your time, because these things, you will reap it in the future. That you can't miss it. Help people. You have free time. Don't just use that free time have a social life, it's good, but spend time sowing it in tangible things. Volunteer at your home. Volunteer even in your family. You have elderly parents or grandparents, and occasionally just spend time with them. Be there for them. Sometimes they just want somebody to talk to. Be there. Those things, you never know where you will reap that benefit from. And then the last thing, relationships. you would find that there's almost nothing that comes your way in life isn't as a result of a relationship. You find that sometimes some people will tell you they met their life partner at someone's party. You attended that party because the celebrant is your friend. You see some people got jobs because a friend drops their CV somewhere. You will see that you were able to handle a difficult situation because someone gave you the right advice. Relationships make or break the quality of your life. So it's very, very important. It's something to pray about. As you're praying for that, God, give me my husband, be praying that God gives you the right relationships with females around you, in the workplace, even in church. It's something to be very deliberate about. What relationship fuels your life to be a better person? Invest in those relationships. If there are relationships that break you down, that also always make you question yourself, then you may want to move away from those kind of relationships. But be very intentional about the people in your life, I would say. And I know your life would definitely turn out for the best.
Woo, woo, woo. Beautiful, beautiful. Jaga. Ngozi. Sorry, for the one that I'm calling you.
So for me, I would say
Jaga.
number one is discover yourself. Know thyself. Get an identity. Who are you? Who am I? And then who are you in Christ? You should be able to answer the question, who am I? Sorry, legend has woken up. So you should be able to answer the question, who am I? You know, that's the first thing. You must know yourself. And once you're able to discover yourself, I don't think anything can sway you into making decisions that you're not supposed to make. Then the second thing is to be confident. Once you know who you are, stand by who you are. Be bold, be strong, be confident. Every morning or most mornings, I take my daughter through declarations in the morning. You know, my name is Marvel. I am strong. I am bold. I am confident. So you need to always speak those things to yourselves. It really changes your mindset. And whenever you, no matter, even in relationships, I believe it will help you in deciding the kind of person, you know, that you want to date and all of that. Then the next thing and the last thing I would say is love thyself. So no matter who you have decided that you want to be, especially when you have made that definition in Christ, and even if someone thinks otherwise, love yourself for who you are. Because when you love yourself, like Mo said, that's when you can even love other people. You know, so love yourself. You're bold, you're strong, you're confident, you know who you are, and then you love who you are and you love who you're going to be and who you're becoming. That's my advice. Thank you.
You love who you are. You love who you're going to be. You love who you're becoming. I love the quotes. And my top three, mine would be number one, time flies. So relating to what Mo said, because there's a way we can think 5 years is such a long time, 10 years is such a long time. I learned the hard way. It's not such a long time. 2021 has flown. We're already in March. Meaning have specific goals. Focus on your goals. There's so much distraction nowadays that it will go like this because we're spending your time doing crap. Focus on your goals, pursue them, learn, grow. Just know that time is going. So whatever it is you want to decide to achieve with your life, use time wisely. Second is be open. And what I mean by be open, don't be stuck in your ways. Don't be stuck in your limited knowledge. Don't be stuck in what you think is your idea of life. Life is so much more bigger than you can ever know. So really be open to other people, be open to advice, be open to counsel. Just be open and don't think you know what your future holds. Trust me, you don't know. And number three, face your demons quickly. And what do I mean by this? We all have mistakes. We all have weaknesses. We all have issues. There's nothing special about you that is something you're not going to start hiding. Oh my God, maybe it's one demon in the village. Face your weaknesses, know what they are, and actively pursue how to either overcome them or find people around you that make up for them. There's some weaknesses you can't change. You might just be able to work on it, but what God is going to give you is people in your life that can help you in that area. But face what it is and move on with your life. The future is absolutely bright. And okay, there was no number 4, but just stay connected to God, which has, we've all said is stay connected to God. And on this note, guys, we spent 4 hours together. We've come to the end of this video. I want to say thank you to my sisters. Please all unmute yourselves, all unmute yourselves. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you. Like, you guys have to don't go to their DMs, please. Just inside in the comment section, just say thank you to them. We've sat down for 4 hours. We started this at 12-ish, and the time right now is 3:55. So we sat down for 4 hours. These are busy women who are giving me 4 hours on a Sunday. Please let me thank them. Please, oh God, the Lord will bless you. Thank you for sharing. You guys have said things today that you said this is the first time you say it. This was so last minute. And I don't take you guys for granted. I just really want to say thank you as you have poured out. May God indeed pour back into your lives in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you guys. It's been so good. Love you all. And until the next time.